In this video, we're going to discuss one type of quadratic word problem where you're given something rectangular like a rectangle or a garden or a field, and you're given one dimension, let's say the area, and you're asked to find the other dimensions like the length and the width. Let's look at an example. Let's say somebody's planting a garden and they want the area to be 200 square yards. And they want the length to be should be 2 yards more than 3 times the width. And we want to find the length and the width to the nearest yard. So the first thing you want to do when you get these word problem questions is always draw a picture. So let's draw a picture of the garden. And let's label what we know. We know that the area is going to be 200 square yards. And we don't know the length, we don't know the width. But we know that the length is somehow related to the width. So let's use the width will represent by x. And the length, we'll say the length is 2 yards more than 3 times the width. So 3 times x plus 2 is going to be the length. And we also have an equation for area relating length and width. We know that area is always going to be the length times the width. So let's just plug in what we know. We know that the area in this case is 200. So 200 is equal to the length, which is 3x plus 2, times the width, which is x. Now we have to solve this equation. Let's distribute the x. 200 is equal to 3x times x is 3x squared. 2 times x is 2x. And whenever we're solving a quadratic equation, we want to have 0 on one side and everything else on the other side. So we're going to subtract 200 from both sides. And let's move over the problem. 0 is equal to 3x squared plus 2x minus 200. And now we need to solve this like a regular quadratic equation. Let's do it using the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And let's plug in the values that we know. So x is equal to negative b in this case is 2 plus or minus the square root of b in this case is 2 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 200, over 2 times a, which is 3. And let's simplify. X is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, let's just punch this whole thing into the calculator, 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 200, enter, 2404. That whole thing is over 2 times 3, which is 6. And let's simplify. X is equal to negative 2 plus or minus is 2404. Is that a perfect square? Let's try it on the calculator. 2404, enter. It is not. So we're going to have to either leave our answer in simplest radical form, but we only need to the nearest yard. So we could just set this up as two separate problems. Negative 2 plus the square root of 2404 over 6. And in the other problem, we could do x is equal to negative 2 minus the square root of 2404 over 6, and solve each of these on the calculator and round our answer to the nearest yard. So let's do that. For the first problem, we have alpha y equals enter to get a fraction. In the numerator, it's negative 2 plus the square root of 2404 and enter. Oh, whoops, I forgot to put in the denominator. Let's try that again. The denominator was a 6, sorry. Rounded to the nearest yard, 7.8 rounded to the nearest yard is 8. And let's do the other problem. Alpha y equals enter to get a fraction. Negative 2 minus square root of 2404 in the numerator, and in the denominator we have a positive 6 and enter. This is a negative number. We can never have a negative number for length or width. So we're going to reject this answer. We can have this answer. So for x, we have x is equal to 8 yards. So let's go back to the question. For the width, we had x is equal to 8 yards. But now we also have to find what is the length. So we're going to plug in wherever we see an x, we're going to plug it in 8. So 3 times 8 plus 2. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 2 is 26. This is 26 yards. The length of the garden is going to be 26 yards. The dimensions of the garden is going to be 8 yards by 26 yards.